My wife says I have an inner Karen.
Oh,
but
that name.
I'm flipping it. Yeah, but.
Welcome to the Brain Lady Podcast with your host, Karen D. Wood, the resident brainiac. Get ready for a mind-expanding journey as we unravel the mysteries of the brain from Notes from the Couch. Join us as we delve into the complexities and wonders of this enigmatic supercomputer. Fasten your mental seatbelts and prepare to have your synapses fired up. Welcome to the captivating world of the Brain Lady Podcast.
And welcome back to the Brain Lady Podcast. My name is Karen D. Wood. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have a therapy practice where we invite people to learn how to balance their brain, body, behavior, and belief. And I'm here in the podcast layer with Phil Villanueva, who takes what I say and turns it into wonderful stuff. And what we're doing is reviewing the first 20 podcasts today. We did one episode of 1 to 5. We didn't get very far, but that's okay. So we're just reviewing the podcasts because then you can learn which ones you want to go back to if a topic is really interesting for you. And then you can kind of there's a theme to what we talk about. And you can see that theme because we are doing this for you to be able to take this into your life and your family and heal. And so, back to the podcast, we were on number 6, which was an interesting one because we talk in every podcast about something somebody said in a session. And then 6 and 7 got kind of heavy because we had a situation in our area where we lost another young man who had been a footballer. So we took 2 episodes to talk about mental health and suicide. How do we talk about it more? What does it mean? How does it happen? What do we do? And we just tried to really look at it straight on. It was in the context of football. And so then we talked about some things like the movie Concussion, where if you're interested in learning about how football damages the brain and creates tau proteins in the brain, you can go to episode 6 and 7 and watch Concussion. Go ahead.
And that was really just powerful because you're dealing with a lot of people. It's a culture here in America with football. And you really talked about how that really impacts everyday culture with very specific individuals. And it was a powerful episode, especially that story and how it hit home here locally.
Yeah. And a pastor had emailed me and said, how do I do the service? So we just talked about some ways you can invite people to learn that that has nothing to do with you and how much that person loved you. And the reason I'm bringing that is because families left behind suffer from that years later. So it's just a gentle reminder for you to sit up and be reminded it was not an indication of how much they loved you. It was an indication of the pain they were in. And then you're still here. So we did some shock tips that you might find helpful. If you haven't lost someone specifically, you can use these as you process other things. If you find yourself just staring down, not talking, you don't know how much time has gone by, that's kind of a sign of shock where your oxygen's really literally draining to just keep your heart and lungs alive. And the tip to that is not to try to talk it through, it's to look up and blink. And if you look up and blink, that gets oxygen flowing back to your frontal lobe to bring you to the reality of now, which may not be pleasant, but if you have your whole brain to work with it, you'll be better off. If you see someone else doing the trauma stare, don't go up, try to talk to them, try to convince them they're going to be okay. Invite them to look up and blink because that will get the oxygen moving. And then you have the conversations. And here's our favorite swallow that we talked about a lot. Get that glossopharyngeal nerve going. If you're in trauma of some sort and you're not eating at all, just keep drinking water. That's the big tip for trauma because you're not only keeping your brain alive with the fluid you're swallowing, which is telling all your organs you're going to be okay. That parasympathetic. You're grabbing the squirrel there, Phil. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, it is a squirrel. I know I tend to have a lot of fun here, but just to put on the table here, because this is Brain Lady Podcast. You are a counselor therapist, and And I try to say, what in my life, I want to be a light, and it's been a while since we had an episode, and it's reminded, I had a lot of things happen this year, and I'm not going into all the details. I found myself dealing with some loss, a couple of friends, and in that age where like there's some struggles, and you trigger a little something with me, like finding out staring out. My wife and I was talking to the pastor of the counseling, and I feel like I had almost like a traumatic, was PTSD? What do you got? PTSD or and I haven't felt this in years. In one of these days, I will share it, but it's something personal, dealing with basically like a past coming back in a way that it hits you just like out of nowhere. And it impacted me, and I didn't know how to rationalize and think it. I prayed and worship and all these different things, really trying to get through it. And it didn't make sense. My body was shutting down. I couldn't sleep I was only sleeping 4 hours a night. And this is like weeks of complete depression. And I didn't know how that some of the brain just reacting and that was shutting down. And I was staring down. Like, I don't know how much time will pass just staring down.
A lot of time can go past because your brain is literally shutting you down. It thinks you're in danger.
Yeah.
Because remember that internal brain, that limbic system, it doesn't know truth and time. It doesn't know you're in 2025 and things are going really well for you right now, actually. It goes back to that other time when it wasn't good, and your whole brain will go back to that time. And so, yeah, that right there. And so that's where the breathing, it sounds petty, but just the sitting up straight, just that alone can say I'm in 2025.
And I think, a lot of us here, even be listening too, just like, I felt out of control. I didn't feel in control of me.
Right.
I feel like there's no way I could do this, do that to change an outcome, because I didn't have power for it. I could just only react to it, but my reaction was a little scary.
I've been going through that a lot recently because I've shared on the podcast 20 years ago, our son got in some really big trouble, ended up in juvenile hall. We just had the 20th anniversary of that whole mess. So it's all coming up. And then we have something in our community where there was a murder, and I'm kind of involved with some of the family, extended family. And now we're saying the word court a lot for this whole situation.
Yeah.
And my internal brain doesn't know that's court for them. It just knows, I remember getting ready in the morning to go to court and living in this state of staring.
Wow.
And sitting in court and fading. So I literally have to use my outside self to tell my inside self, that was 2005. Now it's 2025. I'm now able to use that to help this family in their trauma. And sometimes my brain believes it and sometimes it doesn't. Wow. I've told you before, I can have a complete panic attack at a stoplight if a sheriff car pulls up next to me.
Wow.
1 second later.
Yeah.
I mean, I teach people to do this all the time. Why am I still doing that, right?
Yeah.
That's because the neurons then were so entrenched in the trouble of that time.
And it's hard to explain when we have loved ones, what is wrong when you're trying to figure out, like, I don't know.
The I don't know is a big one.
Yeah.
Because in shock and depression, we might not know.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's helpful to get a paper out and just put boxes of different sizes on it and just stare and see if your mind will give you the gift of what the trouble is. It's kind of interesting what ends up coming out then. Mm-hmm. We might get a clue of what it is. Or we can pay attention to a body part. Am I always frowning when I think about that thing? Mm-hmm. Well, that's a little more, something's troubling me, right? Is my stomach upset the whole time? Well, that means my whole body's upset. That's a bigger thing, right? So we can listen to our body to try to figure out what that's about. The shutdowns are really hard. It's really hard to love someone in a long-term shutdown. I've loved someone in decades of shutdown.
Wow.
And so that's also hard to know is how to, because you don't know what you're running into that day. You don't, because they don't know what they're running into.
I love that you've shared a little bit, some key nuggets of some scripture. I am also a spiritual person and have And I just thank God for grace, his grace and mercy, in a sense, like I am a spiritual, I'm a human flesh with a spiritual being, and we deserve his blessings, but we deserve, we're not perfect. And
we're not perfect. And in a shutdown, we can rely on his wisdom.
Yes.
So James 1:5, if any of you lacks wisdom, so if I'm in shutdown, my wisdom factor is not working at all, right? You should ask God, who gives generously at all without finding fault, because sometimes those shutdowns are so related to guilt and shame. But if we can say there's no fault finding in this God of mine, and then it will be given to you. So if I can say with my boxes on the paper, Lord, I don't even know what's going on with me. I'm glad you are not covering me with guilt and shame. Could you help me figure this one out? Poof, you might have 3 memories that are like, I didn't, right? Memories can be so subconscious. We might not remember them at all. There's
I love that James scripture. That's a good one.
So good. Well, now we're asking someone who's depressed and shut down to spend time with scripture, and that's oxymoronic. But we can certainly pray it for someone that we love.
Yeah.
I interviewed a lady, an author, who wrote a book about being a missionary in Africa, and she lives locally. And her husband had a mental health situation when they were in Africa. And I said, hey, how did you do that? You had 5 kids out on the mission field. This is in the 60s and 70s. She's handling 5 kids way up in Africa. And she was so sweet. She's 92. I guess maybe I'll be sweet when I'm 92, is what I was just referring to. She said, I prayed for 2 of us. Wow. And that really struck me, that in my situation, I can do that. I can pray for 2 of us.
Yeah.
So if you're carrying someone who is shut down, doesn't know what's going on, remember that one. And then remember the physical self. If you're feeling in that state again, get yourself breathing, moving, get outside, get in the sunshine. Some of those physical things can unlock that. A couple more trauma tips. Humming and singing. When we hum in our throat, it changes our heart rhythm. So if I'm all shut down and I start humming, then that can change my heart rhythm and get me moving again.
What's your go-to hum right there? Is there a certain melody that you do? A certain song?
I'm an Amazing Grace girl. That one comes really fast.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, here's a squirrel.
Oh, but that's great.
Big squirrel.
Are you going to give us a demonstration?
Oh, this is partly confessional. So 2014, I break my back in the shower. Grace. Had a fever, fell, shattered my vertebrae, didn't know about it, walked on it for 5 days. Finally got somebody to pay attention to it, and Kaiser ambulanced me up to Sacramento. That's where their neuro center is. I'm grateful. They gave me a new metal vertebrae. It's just been a miracle, really. But I don't remember anything about the helicopter ride except somebody was singing Amazing Grace a lot.
Ooh, yeah.
Because when my kid was in juvenile hall, that's how I'd put myself back to sleep. So when I was morphined out, my brain still knew that was a comfort song. Wow. And then, here's the confession part. And then somebody was saying F, F, F a lot in the ambulance. Oh. And somebody would pat them and say, okay, we'll give you some more. That's all I remember about the ambulance ride. Who was that? That somebody went home and said, that was one crazy ambulance ride. So something to remember about humming, we tend to go back to the songs we learned between 14 and 18. We have a neurological set point for songs we learned then.
Wow.
I mean, does it make sense to you that 7-year-olds still go to Death Row Toll concerts and the Allman Brothers and the Doobie Brothers and all those old boys? Yeah, because that was comfort at the time. So I also love, give me an old hymn with organ, crank an organ. Oh. Mm-hmm. I've got a series of Instagrammers that do organs.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'll set my soul peaceful right then.
Wow.
I've got some wild and crazy songs.
Wow.
You can get out and feel the sunshine. There's a direct connection between the sun who made the sun and how we feel in our skin.
I like that. The sun who made the sun.
Yeah, experiment with that if you're feeling shut down and distressed. If you lost someone, suicide, tragedy. I've just been praying all week for those families in Texas. And so those are just some trauma tips if you're going through those things. And remember, we can pray very specifically for those people. I even pray for people that they will take strong exhales in those traumatic times. Like if I see somebody on news clip or a newsreel or something, I'm starting to pray that they could just get their breathing going, and because that's about all you can do in shock.
May I comment on that Texas thing?
Absolutely.
That Texas tragedy, and we're talking about referring to the floods, right? Yes, that just broke my heart. The family, you had a lot of little girls, but you had teenagers who were the counselors, and then you had the whole community. It's just, I don't even know the numbers now. We're closer to 200.
We're still missing 90 people.
Yeah.
And you know, we get worried about our busy little lives, but I have never traipsed along a riverbed looking for someone I love. I have never done that. How do you do that? That. So listen to episodes 6 and 7 if you want some tips on how to deal if suicide has been in your family, someone you know and love. Just a couple things to remember about that as followers of someone you love. Remember the anniversary date of the death, because part of the pain of suicide is people forget. So it is not insensitive to send a card on a death date. It means I'm remembering them and I'm remembering you. So just remember that, because it gets really, really lonely. Okay, so we went from there where we talked about 8. We talked a lot more specifically about the hijacked brain in episode 8 and 9. You can watch those. Of that, when the amygdala sends so many chemicals, it's like 0 to 10. Once we get to an 8, we've flipped our lid. We're done. There's no more thinking. The brain will just be reactive. And it's not necessarily the big things. It's also the small things. So we talked a lot about tips of how to do that. Because remember, the amygdala is the fire alarm. It's going to send the alert that something's wrong. The hippocampus is the library where those memories come in. So we've got a really good picture on the brain at the top and bottom of the brain. From the top, the sides of the top. Can we go inside, Phil? Mm-hmm. There's our inside. So there's that amygdala. The fire alarm is registering there's a problem. And it's going to that hippocampus and telling the whole frontal brain to react. And so the balancer is the cingulate gyrus. It doesn't show on this one, but it's right in there. And it covers the inside of the brain, goes through the bumpy part of the brain, and helps everything get to the top. That's our balancer. And the frontal cortex is our front desk where we can analyze it all. So you can think about ways to handle your hijack. One of them we talk about in number 10 was I need to blink to the box. A lady said, I need to blink to the box. She was just saying there's too many things going on. And she had learned she could either slow herself down by blinking purposefully and regularly, or she could speed her heart rate up by blinking more if she felt she was in a stare. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, how to break the situations down, that's episode 10. So Phil, when you hear about the hijacked brain and big situations and the word fire alarm,
ooh.
What comes to mind for you lately?
The fire alarm. You talked about there was a fire taking place in our emotions, but we actually had a real fire. We hit home. Now, my mother-in-law has stage 4 cancer, and that hit her this year. We're navigating into that still, but they came to a point about a month ago. We got a call. And from the neighbor of my in-laws, and I recognize the neighbor. I haven't seen that number in 2 years.
But you recognized it.
Yeah. So, and I picked it up. My in-laws' house was on fire. And so we jet over there, and it was just, everything is totaled. So, totaled. So we had to rebuild the whole thing from the ground up. Only thing was the front room is full soot, but everything's destroyed. But luckily some pictures are saved, maybe 60% of the pictures, which is a lot.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yes. Yeah, I will count that as a blessing. But we're glad they're safe. They're elderly. So my follow-up can barely walk. So the fire, now we have them living with us. It's an adjustment. They love, my daughter loves them being here at home. But it's a big adjustment.
It's a big adjustment.
Yes. Life has changed daily. they're elderly. They should have probably moved in with us about 5 to 10 years ago. I mean, if we're being honest, we're cooking their meals, and I just glad they're okay. But I know that we had to put that on the shelf a little bit, our emotions, because you need to navigate logistics. You can't be like, all like, broken all the time. So like, no, God gave me the strength, and God has given us the strength. My wife has been Wonder Woman with
Good
this.
for her.
Yes, but appreciate those brain prayers, right? Making sure we just walk in faith and victory, knowing that it's great, his grace and mercy, and just let me take some time. And during this time, I'm trying to focus on my health, because I need to be in the right standing with physically to deal with this. So
that was some good wisdom coming in there, dealing with your physical self.
Lost about 40 pounds doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, shoot, I don't have to go. Hope I don't have to go fire to lose my 40. But it's a good example of you had to handle how many hijacks, because you had so many boxes and topics. And we talked in another episode about episode 16 about the U-Haul of boxes. Remember that?
We
had so many topics. When you say, hey, just pick a box. This lady said, and it's on the screen, how do I pick a box? Because when I open the back of my U-Haul of my boxes, they all fall out. And you could kind of see that must have been what the moving them in, taking care of them, the house, and you're just in the middle of it, really. Doing
a room addition. In this case, this is overlapped with depression, with all that at the same time. Coming out of that, thank God for spiritual leaders and counseling and Mike. And again, the outside, I mean, everything's great. But the inward self,
the to-do list when you lay your head on the bed at night.
Yeah. So that's what's revealed. And it's like, God, what are you revealing? What are you showing me? What character trying to build with inside myself? How if I'm trying to be a better husband and father in that, so I don't take it out on my family.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So a lot of change going on.
And it's a real good example too of the hijack can be the small things. So you've got all these things in your mind, and then Mia keeps bugging you for something. And so it's just a good reminder of what we dealt with in episodes, a whole bunch of them in the middle, of how do we get back, episode 11, how do we get back to the fact of what's going on, and how do we catch those complaints? We had a really good talk about a handout, small one like this. It's a quote about a hijack, if you can find that.
Okay.
That the hijack is a state of mind that the brain thinks it's in danger. So this quote was just talking about, it's really our brain saying, I'm in emotional danger. And it's not the size of the threat. It's the size of the brain reaction. It's called an amygdalic hijack. So you can read more about that. Episodes 11 are good about that. 14, we talk about how not to get hijacked. 12 and 13, we had a little bit of fun. Oh, this was when we went to the next episodes of 12 and 13, where I put out a query and said, hey, Inside Out, my movie, it's the bomb. What inside character are you? And then somebody said her character would be suspicion right away, because she just feels suspicious and doesn't take the reins, and better to be safe than sorry. And then was teasing her about how this character would look, because in 12 and 13, we just had some fun. Which Inside Out character are you?
Ooh, delusional. I like that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Isn't that good for my, trauma, empathy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then we had somebody, they would be the blank chicken, because they're running around with their chicken with head cut off, but they don't know why they're walking around with their head cut off. So she was the blank chicken. I have started drawing these. Here's me. Oh, isn't she cute? There's my complaint. So it's a big Lego head, big clear Lego head of your audio, so that you can see my brain and what I'm complaining about. Cute little skirt, but I'm stomping around. And,
it's a computer one?
No, this was Jermaine. Remember, he was so tired. And he was just a walking pillow, remember?
Okay.
He was just a walking pillow. He was so tired.
Uh-huh.
And we had a lot of fun. This guy, he felt like he had lost a dog the year before and it was still impacting him. So you can go back to those episodes and see what all these mean. It's just a reminder that Inside Out was such a brilliant movie because it characterized what so much of us feel: joy, sadness, fear, anger, disgust. It gave them chemicals. And what we're really trying to do is this neurogenesis we talked about last podcast was new neurons are kept alive by effortful learning, for us to take the effort to do this relearning. And it involves concentration in the present moment to experience and overcome. And that makes new neurons. We get new nylon sheaths running around it. And so Inside Out was just some fun, but a good way for all of us to really look at who we really are, what our characters really are. It helps you notice it a lot faster. I have noticed my complaints so much faster because I can see that big Lego clear-headed bobblehead wobbling around.
There is no pun intended. My wife says I have an inner Karen.
Oh.
But
that name.
I'm flipping it. Yeah. But, because, we have neighbors, some really good neighbors, but there's some things happen. I'm like, oh, no. And I'm like, you being a Karen? But she says it's a secret weapon, big squirrel here. You need to call cable. You need to call PG&E. She wants my inner Karen to come out,
and take care of the situation.
Yes. So, but now I have a different type of inner Karen.
No, I'm both.
Yes.
I'm the white woman and 60 years old who will go straight to the manager, no doubt. And then I'm the other Karen. Okay, why is this frustrating me? Because I've got so many things to do and this person's being incompetent. Yes, they are. The fact is they're being incompetent. Let's just get this done. That's what it sounds like in there. It can be pretty complicated up in this brain.
Yeah.
So that was fun, 12 and 13. So watch those episodes. 14, we talked more about the hijack. 15 was the one to watch if you want to learn more about this glossopharyngeal nerve in your throat, the sympathetic system that gets us all upset, the parasympathetic system that we can activate to tell all of our organs we're going to be okay. So when we sit up straight, take that long drink. If you take 3 drinks and take the time to feel them going down, you have bought a minute to find your new balance.
Wow.
If you take 3 good inhales and 3 good exhales, you've bought another minute on the screen. This poor brain.
Oh, sorry.
You switched. That's not a problem. Here's a really good jog. Nice work finding it, Phil. Of that glossopharyngeal nerve. It's the nerve that helps pop our ears when we're in an airplane. That nerve does that balancing. Remember they say chew gum so you can swallow to pop your ears? Thank you, glossopharyngeal nerve. And it also goes down and tells all of our organs we're going to be okay. So if you take the time for 3 swallows and 3 inhales, you've bought 2 to 4 minutes to figure out the situation, to slow everything down. And so that nerve is really, I call it the miracle nerve. That's episode 15. And then 16, we went on to talk about our U-Haul, which we already talked about. 17 was really good. We talked about how to take the boxes, and they seem to connect like fish hooks. Fish hooks, that's English. So if you want to learn more about when I am solving one problem on the screen, but then I don't really solve it and it goes up to another problem, good, just follow the trail. Because the reason you couldn't land this one is because this one wants more attention. Give it some attention and then just keep figuring it out. Sometimes it takes several pages because these things are all connected. But to write it out, figure it out, find your new acceptance for each box, then you start finding your healing. You might bring up some old stuff. Good. Now you've got a place to put it and a way to work on it. Those are fish hooks. That was 17. 18 and 19 were 2 heavier ones again. My coworker, Kim Contreras, who works frontline in human trafficking, came on. Our reels of how to protect children on social media were some of our most watched reels. So you can check those out.
Great content right there. Great content.
And how we protect our children. She worked with the Central Valley Justice Coalition. So if you're wanting more information how to get involved, that's the place to go. 20 and 21, we're talking about Robin Beer, my coworker who's done this longer than I have. And we had a delightful time. We figured out we could probably do 20 podcasts without stopping. We just enjoy each other so much. She gives a really good summary if you want to learn more about the different ways to view things, my viewing, the next person's viewing. So those are really good for that. So today we just took some time to review our episodes so far. So if you want to find more content, that's where to go, those different episodes, so that you can learn, summarize here. The balance we're talking about is learning what your body's doing, its reactions, and how to use your body to balance yourself, even in high trauma. How to notice outcome-based thinking as a way to step-by-step handle something to clear acceptance. Doesn't mean the thing is good or right. Just means I want my best brain to deal with it. We talked about that tension scale, paying attention to what number you're at. It really helps. Ooh, I had a foster kid one time who said 6 is the fix, 8 is too late. So we want to try to figure out what's going on at the 6. And then just think, you can literally say, what would I look like if I was a 5 right now? And your brain will look at you and give you the options of how to get you back down to a 5. It really starts being quite fun to see it working and knowing that you're healing. So I hope that helps you kind of get a catalog of the different things we've talked about. If you want more resources, we're developing our website, clearthinkingsolutions.org. We'll be having more videos to watch on there soon.
BrainLadyPodcast.com is now live.
BrainLadyPodcast.com is now live. I forgot that. How could I? And that will give you an easier way to get to all the podcasts. So if you want to tell a friend, just tell them to go to there. Then they can find out the podcast because Phil linked everything. And then the book I wrote, Brain Prayers, Amazon. The first version is quite intense. It's the darker copy. And this new version that people asked for is not quite as intense. It just helps you learn more about the brain, get familiar with the brain parts, some really weird words, and then how you can pray for yourself and others. So thank you for joining us again for the kind of the review of our first sessions. We'd love to hear more from you about what kind of sessions you'd like to see. Our next step, we're going to start interviewing people to kind of do therapy sessions kind of live. So you get to see what it feels like firsthand. I think you'll find that kind of exciting. So let us know. The comments really tell YouTube that you're paying attention. So we would really appreciate that as we build this platform so we can reach further to invite people to learn the balance of their brain, body, behavior, and belief, to take what they've been through. Oh, squirrel. I ran into the lemon bush in our front yard this morning because of our weird parking situation. Wow. And I was just laughing that I can't even make lemonades. I'm just running into the lemon bush. That was this morning. So
it's a little sour.
Wow. Yeah, I thought I was complaining about another scratch in my car. So what we have to do is every situation when we're in, like it's little, running into a lemon bush, or big, having in-laws come into your house and rebuilding a house, or bigger, court for your family, or I'm not scaling tension and trauma. It's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying our brain has never been there before, so it doesn't know how to do the bigger things. So I hope these podcasts help you figure out to do whatever phase you're in, these episodes. So thanks for joining. Be sure and sit up straight. Take your exhale. We'll see you next time.